Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the spread, okay? All the time you hear me talking about in the perfect home sale, we teach you the art of the perfect home sale. We show you how to get top dollar and then some. And a lot of people ask me, well, Kendall, what do you mean? How does that happen? How can you do that? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is how to achieve this, okay? Before I tell you exactly how to do this, I need to prepare you for the concepts we're going to be talking about by telling you a story to help kind of frame, what we're going to be explaining today. So I want you to think about a gas station, right? When you go to a gas station, you have a pump. And we have this here, the hose goes back up to the pump, that's our pump, okay? Now, what does a gas station pump have? Well, you're gonna have 3 buttons, okay? What do these 3 buttons do for you? Well, they have different grades of gasoline, okay? And this does apply back to the value of your house. So, why would they not just have one standard level of gasoline? Well, what happens is they have 3 different levels and they're at 3 different price points. And so we'll just say that this is your lowest price point, this is your medium price point, okay, and this is your highest price point. But what they also are trying to tell you and communicate you that's even more important than the price point is the added value. So we're going to say that, well, this is gasoline, but this one at the lowest price point is actually the lowest level of value. This one that's a medium price point is kind of a medium level of value. And this one at the highest price point is the highest level of value. And so what they're trying to tell you is, well, yes, this one here can make your car go, right? But unfortunately, it's going to leave your car with a lot of problems because it's just kind of gunky and it's not the best, it's not the premium, right? And you're going to have troubles down the road with your vehicle. Whereas if you invest into the higher premium fuel, then you're not going to have as many mechanic troubles, you're not going to have as many problems with your vehicle because you have put a higher level of fuel in there. So what are they trying to do for you? Well, basically, everybody has this cost line, right? And they're saying, based on like in the market, what everything is costing, for gas, here's what I'm willing to pay for a gallon of gasoline right now, because this is what the market has told me a gallon of gasoline is worth, okay? But if, let's just say, a gallon of gasoline, random number, let's just say $2, okay? But premium gasoline costs $3, well, why would I invest 150% of my money into a higher level of gasoline? Because you see, this is what gasoline should cost, but you're taking me from this point right here and you're telling me that I should actually pay more for gasoline? That doesn't make any sense to me. So what they have to do is increase the value to you by telling you a story, a narrative about how it's going to increase the longevity of your car, decrease the level of mechanic trips that you have to take. So therefore saving you time, saving you money at the mechanics. And if what they can do is they're trying to take your value, because right now you value, at this moment, you're valuing, let me do this as like kind of more of a dotted line here. You're valuing the price of gasoline right here at the normal market cost of gasoline. But what they're trying to do is get you to see, oh, I understand that premium gasoline does have a high value up here. So even though it's gonna cost me a little bit more, right? It's costing me more than normal gasoline, but that's okay, because it's a positive increase in overall value. There is more value than there is cost. I understand that. And because of the value that's added there, I'm willing to pay more for gasoline. And maybe you do, maybe you don't buy premium gasoline, but a lot of people do. That's why they have them at the pumps and that's what they're selling. So how does this apply to your house? It's a great question. So your home, because of the market value, is right here. So assuming that you've done everything, you've created an attractive space, you've created an attractive offer, you've done all these things that we talk about in the perfect home sale, you've got the right team together, all that kind of stuff, and now you're looking at, but how do I get this and then some that we talk about, I'll highlight green, how do I get this and then some on the top dollar of my home? Well, what you have to do is increase the perceived value of your home. And so what you have to do is there's a cost. There's going to be a cost for you as the homeowner, okay? And there's going to be also a cost for the buyer, right? So what you have to do is say, okay, here's some items that are, and I'm going to go ahead and write this term up here. You need to find what we call low cost but also, and high value upgrades, things, whatever it is, to your home that you can do. When you do these right, you're actually going to increase the overall perceived value. So what that kind of looks like is you might say, okay, well, here's my house. Let's just say that right now it's worth $200,000. Okay, just because that's where the market is. It doesn't matter if you're in a cold market, hot market, whatever. My house is worth $200,000. Like, here's the standard, offers that are being made. How do I increase the attractiveness and the perceived value of my home? Well, you're going to do some upgrades. Okay, you want to make sure that you keep these upgrades relatively cost effective. I don't like to say the word cheap, because we're not saying they're low quality, but they're very cost effective in what you do. So let's say that you come in here and you're like, you know what, I'm going to invest $500 into my home with different little upgrades and like a weekend of my time, maybe a 3-day weekend, $500, and that's what I'm going to invest in my home. That's a negative at this moment out of your bank account, because this is what it costs you. But then you're gonna come over here, say, but I know that these things have a higher perceived value than their cost. And so what I'm actually going to end up being able to make on my home now is $210,000. And you might say, well, Kendall, that's not possible. This is literally what we do in real estate investing all the time. Is the way that we make our biggest spreads, the way we make our most amount of profit, is we take what a home is usually worth, we find things that are low cost but high value, we implement those, and then we pay the cost, and then the end buyer sees the perceived value and is willing to pay more. Now, you've got to make sure that these are things that actually add value, because if you do something that's not actually adding value, it's going to be like premium gasoline. If you can't explain that story well enough, then it's going to be, going back to the gasoline, it's going to be like premium gasoline that a lot of people aren't willing to pay for. And so even though you're like, well, I put this cost in, if you put $500 in, but nothing happens and you still only make $200,000, or even worse, if you do some things that are kind of weird and you actually end up accidentally lowering, let's just put this here. What if you accidentally end up lowering the value of your home because you do something that's kind of just wonky or strange? That would be really, really bad, because you don't want to pay money to lose money, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. You're wanting to pay money and make a lot more money. And so what you've got to find are things that are low cost but have a high perceived value. Now, how do you do that? Well, we're going to break that down. Let's see where I got room left on my whiteboard. I'm just going to go ahead and erase this. We're going to break this down into 3 simple steps. Okay? Step 1, you are going to find items, line items from somebody somewhere that are, like I said, low cost and high value. This is so important, because what I see people do all the time is they go, oh, well, more expensive must be better. And so they do things that are high cost, and even if they're high cost, high value, best case scenario, you end up breaking even. Worst case scenario, you actually end up spending more on the cost than you actually get back out in the value. And this is where people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to market, and they do increase the value of the home by thousands and thousands of dollars. But if at the end of the day, if the cost line is like literally parallel on top of your value line, there's no point in doing it, right? And so you want to actually find line items that are low cost and high value. And we actually talk about specifically what we do in our course, The Perfect Home Sale, in our book, Where Beauty and Budget Meet, which you can get as a part of the Perfect Home Sale program. They're really, really helpful. And this is how we make spread as an investor. And this is really, what ties in a lot to the art of the home sale. Okay. Step number 2, once you find your low cost, high value items, if you're looking at once you found them or how to find them, if you don't use our stuff, you need to ask yourself, okay, well, let me see. What's trending? What in the marketplace right now is super popular and people really like? Where can you find that? Well, you can look on Zillow. Okay, Zillow's got a ton of listings out there, and you can just see, okay, with people selling their houses around me, what are they doing? Especially the people that are selling that are it's about my size, a very similar house, but it's selling for more than what I think I could sell my house for. What did they do to their home? Okay, and find what's trending. Look on Pinterest. What's just overall trending? And then once you find those things, you've got to figure out step number 3, how to right? How to do this thing on a budget. Oops, excuse me. You get what I'm saying. How to on a low budget, right? We're just gonna put a $sign and an arrow down. How to do this thing for very little money. Much easier, okay? That's the key. So you gotta figure out what's trending, what's working well right now, and how can you do this for a very low cost, okay? And so I'll give you an example. Whenever we are doing our yards, if you would see, like if you're picturing that this is a house, right? We always do these like cool stone barrier things, like it's like a stone garden. So we'll just say like if this is our sidewalk to the driveway, we got this nice driveway right here. So we would have like stones here on both sides, you get what I'm saying? On both sides of the front of this house. But we, instead of using like landscaping stones, we actually reuse retaining wall stones. They're much cheaper. They're cost effective. They're still a very quality product, right? Because they're used in retaining walls, but you just flip them upside down. They're a really nice looking color, and you would never know that they were retaining wall stone. They actually look amazing as a garden barrier, and they cost half, not a third of the price of normal like landscaping rocks that you use on retaining walls. And so we can get that same level of curb appeal on the front of our homes for a fraction of the cost. And then what we do is we just go and we fill up, once we have the retaining stones there, we don't even dig out like a trench. We just put our garden mesh liner down. We put the stones on top of that, like the weed blocker, put our stones on top of that, and then we fill in from there with mulch, okay? And so that's something that we do. That's a practical example of what we did. We saw what's trending, well, these landscape stones around the outside of a house, okay? And then we asked us, how can we do that exact same thing? How can we replicate that process on a low budget? And so we went to the store, we found some ways that we could do that, and that's just one of like 80 something low cost, high value home upgrades that we have in our book where beauty and budget meet. That's just one of the little things that we talk about and how to add value to your home in and around the perfect home sale program. So with that, to recap, what you need to do is make sure that when you're going to sell your house, make sure you're constantly thinking about the spread. What can you do that's top dollar and can also get you even more money on top of just getting yourself to top dollar? And so for our exact money making tips, you can go and check out the perfect home sale and get all this and a heck of a lot more. Can't wait to see you there and hope to add a lot of value to you and your home sale through this program.